The following is excerpted from the work of Dr. Kim Henderson, a United States military veteran and graduate of Yale. These are his slides. This is his work. I want to be sure to give him credit. You should visit his website and subscribe to his newsletter to learn more from Dr. Kim Henderson. I highly recommend it. One of the things that Dr. Henderson discusses is the power of elite preferences. If there's strong support from the high income earners in the United States, the top income elite, for a agenda or for a bill or for some kind of policy, that doubles the probability that said policy, said agenda will be adopted. However, the elite are often sheltered from the consequences of their preferences. And so that's what I'm going to discuss here, thanks to Dr. Henderson's work. So the more one has, the more one wants, since satisfactions received only stimulate instead of filling the needs. Two studies and more suggest that the position of high status strengthens the status motive. In other words, the higher status you have, the more you want to gain more status and display that status. Compared with lower class individuals, upper class individuals report a greater desire for wealth and status. There's often this misunderstanding that low-income earners might be the ones who desire status the most, but instead the research suggests that the more wealth and status you have, the more important status becomes. So there was a time when wearing top hats and a monocle and other classy clothing would be a sign of your wealth, right? You'd be able to communicate your status by your clothing, by your jewelry. But we live in an age where everybody wears blue jeans. Everybody wears athleisure, and so it's more difficult to display your status in a world where everybody dresses pretty much the same. So, it's fashionable for the rich in the past few years to make the claim that we should defund the police. But in the United States, compared with those who earn more than $75,000, the poorest individuals are 7 times more likely to be victims of robbery. They are 7 times more likely to be victims of aggravated assault, and they are 20 times more likely to be victims of sexual assault. So when the elite push the agenda of defunding the police because of claims of racism, the people that are hurt the most are low-income earners. In fact, the people of color for whom Black Lives Matter claims to protect are the ones that will be hurt the worst. And you may say, well, if a community votes to defund the police, that's their prerogative, that's their right to do so. But it's not, because the children in that community have no vote. And we all know children are going to be victims of these same things, right? They're going to be 7 times more likely to be victims of robbery. And I've taught in the most difficult community in the entire state of Ohio, Whitehall. I taught there for 7 years. And many of my students were victims of robbery, of sexual assault, of aggravated assault. Many of my students walked to school in fear. I recall one student who was a female who dressed like a man so that guys wouldn't catcall her, grown men, and try to grab her on the way to school. So the fashionable beliefs of the wealthy and the affluent at Yale and Harvard to defund the police, this is a movement that hurts the people they're claiming to help much more than it helps them. And again, the children are hurt most of all by these luxury beliefs that this elite status of people seem to have currently. And that leads to Dr. Henderson's big idea, a luxury belief. This is where you're willing to, torch your own social capital to elevate your own social status. We have elite people writing articles like this. It's okay to end a friendship over politics. No, it's not. No. You should be able to nurture a friendship despite political differences. If we can't have friends across party lines, we probably cannot succeed as a nation to make the compromises necessary to progress and to sustain the traditions that have brought us here. No, you don't have to see your toxic family on Thanksgiving. What that article really means is if you have supporters of Trump or the right-wing agenda, you don't have to see them because they're toxic. That's really what the elite have been communicating the past few years, using the media as their main vehicle to do so, because when you're reading The Atlantic or The New York Times, you're not reading average Joes and Janes like you and I. You're reading Yale graduates, Harvard graduates, these people who were born into wealth, have wealth, and now are telling us how to believe and what to think. Let's call the whole thing off. Let's end marriage. Isn't it time you did the same? Despite the fact that a two-parent stable household is the best privilege you can give anybody in this country, the research supports that. We don't want single mothers, single fathers. No, we want families to nurture children so that they can be successful. But when these elite fools share their luxury beliefs with articles like this, the nuclear family is no longer the norm, good, this encourages people to shy away from having one partner and from committing to them. And the research is clear. Women who have multiple partners are less happy in relationships. The more partners a woman has, first of all, the less desirable she is to men. And second of all, the less happy she is with herself. And yet they don't write articles like that share the real research. Again, a stable two-parent household is the greatest privilege that you can give any child in the United States of America. And the family is the backbone of society. And as these elite people share their luxury beliefs trying to destroy the nuclear family, rest assured the destruction of the nation will follow. And here we see some of that destruction, the erosion of family structure. We have a Gallup poll that says only 25% of college graduates think couples should be married before having kids. This is revolting. You should not have a child. You should not bring a child into this world unless you have a stable partner and a stable marriage and you're ready to raise them together. Anything other than that means that you weren't taking protective measures to prevent you from having a child until you're ready. The surest way to poverty is to have a kid before you're ready. The surest way to be a single parent is to have a child before you've chosen a significant other that you can rely on, a partner who you can trust. It is extremely important to be married before having kids, not because this is some moral thing that I'm preaching, because the research, the facts point out the stability of the family structure is what helps the children. And it's my job as an educator to help children. So I will not be sitting here silent while the elite push their luxury beliefs on the average Joes and Janes from the state of Ohio. I will not allow it in central Ohio, not while I am a voice here to be heard. For the less educated, more births outside of marriage. We have a higher percentage of new mothers who are unmarried. Try to have a successful child when you haven't yourself graduated from high school and you're now pregnant. Getting pregnant is something that is not an accident, right? I mean, it's no, oops, it just happened. No, there are many protective measures you can take to prevent a pregnancy from occurring in 2023. Okay, and so if you don't do that, you're hurting the child that you're bringing into this world. And in all seriousness, maybe you should have a misdemeanor on your record for bringing a child into the world before you're ready and thus harming him, because you're harming the kid, period. Out of wedlock births in the United States have skyrocketed since 1990. In 1950 or so, just 4 to 5% were out of wedlock births. In 2020, it's almost half. Okay, what's going to happen to these children? Well, it's my job to protect them. And so I will be telling the elite who push the luxury belief that out of wedlock births and having multiple partners and multiple spouses is okay. It's not. It's not, because the family structure is the backbone of society. The stability is mandatory for a child's success. So I will be undercutting your foolish luxury beliefs. They're the new status symbols, these luxury beliefs. You wonder, how could people be so stupid and so insane who come from such wealth and so-called prestigious universities? But again, Yale and Harvard, those people are not smarter than you and I. They have better connections. They have more wealth. They know more people. They come from the East Coast elite. We don't. They read the same books anybody else does. And the library and the internet are the real schools anyway. The rest of it is just bullshit certification. So these luxury beliefs are the new status symbols. The best measure of cultural capital is undoubtedly the amount of time devoted to acquiring it. Traits, resources, and beliefs that are costly can serve as reliable indicators of economic, social, and cultural resources. So luxury beliefs are perceived as honest signals of wealth because they are so difficult or impossible to fake. So the reason the elite have these luxury beliefs is to show their status, to show that they know better than everybody else, right? To show that their beliefs put them apart from the rest of us because they're obsessed with showing themselves to be above us And if they can't do it with their clothing and their monocles anymore, they're going to do it with their ideas, as foolish as they all are. New York professor Scott Galloway says that the strongest brand in the world is not Apple. The strongest brands are these famous schools. They're not where the most intellectual people go necessarily. They're famous. They're not better schools than anybody else. Academics have decided that they're no longer public servants, that they're luxury goods, and these luxury belief holders are insulated from the consequences of their fashionable views that then come to shape culture and policy. The point is, the wealthy, the elite, they live in gated communities. They are sheltered from this defund the police belief, as one example. There are many other luxury beliefs. This is just one that I'm pinpointing. And so they're hiring private security. Many of these powerful families are, when local police can't do the job. In Chicago, one of the elite institutions there, they have their own police force because crime is so rampant outside of the community. Yale is the same way. New Haven has all kinds of crime, but Yale is insulated from it. These people are holding beliefs that are disturbing society, causing chaos, and dividing us, which is the best way to control people: divide and conquer. So instead of focusing on what is different about us, what makes us unique, we need to focus on what we have in common. And we need to point out these luxury beliefs, and we need to exorcise them from all the foolish people who are pushing them upon the rest of us, despite the fact that they're sheltered from these insane beliefs. It's time to draw a line in the sand. I do not condone the use of luxury beliefs. It's pushing these on society is having harmful consequences for our country. And it's time to expose luxury beliefs, and it's time to expose the people that are caught up in these ideas as being the traitors, quite frankly, that they are, because they're harming the country. And if you harm this country, and if you harm the backbone of this country, the family, and if the children are left unprotected by your beliefs, you deserve to be called out.